The rain tasted like ash. Elias Thorne spat, wiping his tongue on the threadbare sleeve of his tweed coat. He's been tracking the storm for 3 days, ever since it began manifesting as a persistent anomaly on his seismograph, an unnatural oscillation that defied all meteorological explanations. Now it had delivered him to Havenwood, West Virginia, a town swallowed by a perpetual twilight and steeped in a quiet despair that clung to the air like wood smoke. Elias, a geophysicist with a particular interest in unexplained phenomena, wasn't a man given to superstition, yet the local rumors were unsettling. Stories of the Weeping Hollow, a depression just outside of town said to be a place where the earth itself mourned. Whispers of a forgotten tragedy, a pact made with something ancient, and a curse that clung to Havenwood like ivy. Sheriff Brody, a man carved from granite in weary resignation, met him at the edge of town. "You the fellow from the university?" Brody asked, his voice raspy. "Came to look at the storm?" "And the rumors," Elias added, watching Brody's expression darken. "Don't pay them any mind, that son," Brody said, but his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. "Just a bit of local folklore." Elias followed Brody's patrol car down a narrow, overgrown road leading towards the Weeping Hollow. The trees pressed in on either side, the branches intertwined like skeletal fingers. A thick mist hung in the air, muffling the sounds of the storm. "There was an accident here, a long time ago," Brody said, breaking the silence. "Coal mining disaster. Buried a lot of folks. And the legends say it was more than just an accident," Elias prompted. Brody sighed. "They say old man Hemlock made a deal. Needed the coal to save the town. Offered something in return." "And what was that?" Elias pressed. Brody didn't answer, his gaze fixed on the Weeping Hollow looming ahead. It was a vast depression in the earth, filled with stagnant water and choked with gnarled trees. The storm seemed to coalesce around it, swirling in a vortex of rain and shadow. As they approached the edge of the hollow, Elias felt a strange pressure in his head, a sense of overwhelming sorrow. He noticed a small, weather-beaten headstone partially obscured by the undergrowth. He knelt down and wiped away the grime, revealing the name Silas Hemlock, 1868-1912. "His grandfather," Brody said softly, "the one who made the deal." Elias activated a handheld geophone and began scanning the ground. The readings were chaotic, fluctuating wildly. "There's a significant energy signature down there," he said, his voice tight, "unlike anything I'd ever seen." Suddenly, the ground began to tremble. A deep, guttural moan rose from the hollow, shaking the trees and sending a flock of crows exploding into the sky. A thick black fog rolled out, enveloping them in a chilling embrace. From within the fog, a figure began to materialize. It was vaguely humanoid but distorted, its limbs elongated and its face a mask of silent anguish. It radiated an aura of palpable sorrow, a weight of grief that threatened to crush Elias's spirit. What is that?" Brody stammered, his hand instinctively reaching for his revolver. "It's the grief," Elias whispered, his voice barely audible above the moaning wind. "The grief made manifest." The figure extended a long, skillful hand towards them. The ground beneath their feet began to crack. Elias felt a searing pain in his head, images flooding his mind, scenes of a desperate man bargaining with a dark entity, a town plunged into ruin, and the promise made in exchange for salvation. He realized the storm wasn't a meteorological anomaly, it was a physical manifestation of the grief, amplified by the entity Silas Hemlock had invoked. The mining disaster wasn't solely an accident, it was a consequence of the pact. "We need to leave," Elias shouted, grabbing Brody's arm. "Now!" They stumbled back, scrambling to escape the encroaching fog and the mournful wail emanating from the hollow. As they reached the edge of town, Elias glanced back. The fog had receded slightly, revealing a fleeting image of Silas Hemlock's grave, now glowing with an unnatural light. Back at the local diner, Elias tried to process what he had witnessed. The waitress, a woman with tired eyes and a weary smile, placed a cup of coffee in front of him. "Heard you folks had a bit of excitement down at the hollow," she said. "Happens every few decades, they say." "They're remembering." "Remembering what?" Elias asked. The waitress shrugged. "The price of things. Some deals can't be kept." She looked directly at him, her eyes filled with a disconcerting knowingness. "And some debts that always come due." As Elias left Havenwood, the storm intensified, chasing him down the winding roads. He checked his seismograph. The anomaly persisted, now spreading outwards, a ripple of sorrow expanding across the region. He knew the entity was not contained. He began to record his findings, noting the energy signature, the entity's nature, the link to Silas Hemlock's pact. He knew this was far more significant than a local legend. It was a window into a cosmic horror, a glimpse of the reality where grief could become a tangible force. Weeks later, at his university laboratory, Elias noticed a peculiar anomaly within the recorded data, a recurring pattern, a faint echo within the energy signature. It wasn't entirely new, it was an adaptation of a melody he's heard before, originating from a forgotten folk song originating in New England, the Lament of Silas. He recognized the melody. His own grandfather had sung it to him as a child, a song about a deal made with shadows, and the price that must be paid. He examined an old photograph of his grandfather taken during a trip to West Virginia. A single, faded detail caught his eye, a small, silver locket hanging around his grandfather's neck. He's never seen the locket before. It was identical to a symbol etched into the surface of Silas Hemlock's grave. The final pages of his report were abruptly cut short. The storm, which had seemed to dissipate, returned with renewed force, rattling the windows of the lab and plunging it into darkness. A low, mournful wail echoed through the building. A familiar scent permeated the air, the scent of ash and despair. The report, incomplete, lay on the desk. A single sentence, scrawled in hastily written script, served as a chilling conclusion. The lament, it's not just a song. It's a summons.